Ole, 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 ole. The Prem is back. Oh, boys, I'm so fucking happy, you know, like, I'm so happy. Welcome back to the Redmond Footy View. It is another episode, and it's a very special episode because this is the first time in Redmond Footy View history that we are going to be doing predictions for the next upcoming Premier League season. It's going to be an exciting one, the boys, and in this video I'm going to be predicting all the games from match week 1, and I can't fucking wait. I can't wait for the football to come back. Don't get me wrong, pre-season was alright and the Champions League was fun, but it's going to be good to see all the teams come back, reunite, rejoin into the one most competitive league in world football, and it's going to be boss. Make sure that you're leaving all your predictions in the comments down below for sure. Also, make sure you've liked and you've subscribed with notifications turned on to be notified for every James Redmond TV video. Now, before I go into the first prediction, in my last video I talked about a new segment I'm going to be doing on the show called Comments of the Show, which is where I get the best comment from my previous video. So this is the comment, basically from JRC Productions, basically talking about Moyes and the fact he's got such a difficult first 10 games, because in my most recent video we were discussing which is the first manager who's going to be sacked, and I think David Moyes is an absolutely brilliant prediction. So yeah, like I said, make sure you leave a comment for the chance to be mentioned in the next video. Anyway, let's move into some Premier League footy. Obviously, I'm going to talk about my team first. Liverpool, they're taking on Leeds. The kings of the Premier League versus the kings of the Championship coming together. Like, for neutrals, this is a very exciting game, or at least it should be. And the reason why I think is because, mate, like, Leeds are obviously, they've just came out of the Championship. First place, had a great season. They've got such great momentum going into the game. I understand that the Premier League's different gravy to the Championship, but still a worrying team. And you've got to think of it from a perspective. Imagine being such a giant club that hasn't been in the top division of English football for 16 years, coming in, playing the champions of England, beating the champions of England at their own home ground. Like, can you think of a bigger, better statement to make on your first game of the season? Like, arguably, I mean, obviously I don't want to look back, but that surely would be one of the biggest statements in terms of a return to the Premier League ever. And Leeds are going to have all the motivation, all the confidence in the world to feel like they can go and win this fucking game. Of course they are. Why wouldn't they? I mean, like, I know that they are facing the best club in the world in Liverpool, but these are the games that you want straight away in the Premier League, in my opinion. You want to see where you're at, and what a better chance to see where you're at than facing the best club in the world, because you know that we're going to give you a game, even if we're not at 100%. And another thing that Leeds fans should be excited about, not as much me because I'm a Liverpool fan, but Liverpool haven't looked great in pre-season. We've looked sound and we've looked exciting offensively, but defensively, mate, we've got holes, and Leeds are one team that can score a lot. They've obviously just brought in Rodrigo from Valencia. Mate, I can see this being a really exciting game, and a game that does involve a lot of goals. And I want to re-mention the point about momentum, because Leeds have got a lot of momentum, whereas Liverpool don't quite have that same momentum at the moment. But that being said, mate, this is the first Premier League game back. This is at Anfield. Fans or not, we have got a title to defend. And you know Jurgen Klopp isn't going to have any emotions going into this game. You know he's going to make sure we're set up right. You know that he's going to make sure we're prepared. And how can you ever write off the champions of England in the first game of the season? So my score prediction for Liverpool versus Leeds is going to be Liverpool 3 and Leeds 2. Yes, I am seeing goals, and I am seeing goals galore. Listen, I would much prefer to see a 3-0 win from Liverpool, but I do not see us, or should I say, I can see us being a little bit open defensively just with what I've saw fairly recently. But that's the best thing about scraping a game like that. As long as you can get the 3 points and make it to your next game, then that's all that matters. So like I said, make sure you're joining in the comments down below and leaving all your predictions. The next game is going to be Fulham versus Arsenal. Again, for the neutrals, and I am a neutral for this game, this is exciting. Another newly promoted team in Fulham obviously beat Brentford in the playoff finals to make it to the Premier League, going up against Mikel Arteta, who has just won the FA Cup, just won the Community Shield against us, making PR statements. Of course, you would always have to edge Arsenal as the favourites in this game, but listen, mate, Fulham, they've been able to keep some of the top players from when they were last in the Premier League. They've still got people like Mitrovic, as we know, a very dangerous player. They've also been able to make a few additions additions to the squad, bringing in players like Lamina, Premier League proven, Areola from PSG. What a signing. And although I do think it's going to be close, I do still see Arsenal just about edging it with the momentum that they've been building recently, and I see it going Fulham 1, Arsenal 2. I know quite a few Arsenal fans watch this as well, so let me know, Arsenal fans, how do you see your team doing on the opening Premier League day of the season? Now we move into which is, on paper, probably the closest game of the weekend, Everton versus Spurs, or Spurs versus Everton. Spurs are at home. Now, these usually tend to have close games. Usually it's either Tottenham will win 4-3, Everton will win 2-1, or it's like a 1-1 draw. Like, that's usually how these games tend to go. Now, if you're talking about the favourites of the game, I mean, arguably you'd have to say Tottenham, because obviously finished higher than Everton last season. But this is a new Premier League season. Both teams have made transfers since then. On top of that, bringing in additions like Decore, Allen, James Rodriguez. And also, you've got to look into it, mate. It's Jose Mourinho and Carlo Ancelotti's first full season as the manager of their respective clubs. Two absolute giants in European football, regardless where they are now, which is Spurs and Everton. You know, this is still going to be a great game. It's going to be a great spectacle. And I'm going to go with Spurs 1, Everton 1. Next up, we've got Wolves and Sheffield United. A very saucy game indeed, mate. You know, two teams that for the majority of last season were neck and neck. You know, they were both fighting for them European spots for the majority. And also, one exciting thing, again, for both clubs, is that they've been able to keep hold of some of their strongest players. Like, look at Wolves being able to keep hold of players like Adama Traore, Jimenez. Same with Sheffield United. They haven't lost too many of their star powers. Even Dean Henderson, who was in goal for them last season, they've just replaced them with Farman from Bournemouth. So even though that there is only hairs in this one, I am going to edge Wolves. I just think they've got more quality in that team overall. Therefore, I'm going to go Wolves 2 and Sheffield United 0. Here's a good one. Man like Lallana's tough debut. Chelsea versus Brighton, going to be interesting. Listen, first off, I actually want to talk very briefly about the Adam Lallana to Brighton signing. Very good for Brighton. Listen, Brighton fans, you should be very excited with that signing, because Lallana always was able to offer something to our squad, mate. But when we became the best club in the world, that's just about when he couldn't find his place in the squad, which is understandable. Now, talking about good signings, Chelsea have made just a few, haven't they? Just a few. Be interesting to see how many of the new signings that Frank Lampard starts. Of course, Werner, Ziyech, Chilwell, Havertz. I'm very excited for this game, purely just to see how many of these new inclusions do start and how they perform. More importantly, it's a tough game for both teams, man. And listen, I of course think Chelsea win this fixture 9 times out of 10, but this is the first game of the Premier League season, and this is the Premier League, and as we know in the Premier League, anything can happen, mate, and you can never write off anything. Now, I'm going for points with these predictions, mate, and I've got to get it right to do so. And sometimes to get it right, you've got to take a couple of risks, and I'm taking a risk on this one. I'm going for Chelsea 0, Brighton 1. Yes, I have just said it and you've heard it here first. I can see Brighton winning 1-0 and Adam Lallana to get the winner. Moving on, we have got West Brom, newly promoted side of course, versus a team that really could be competing in the Champions League this year if all went well. Like, I mean, I think it is absolutely fair to say Leicester City, mate, just really missed their chance to get top 4 last year. And on top of that, Leicester have never been a squad that have, even though they've been able to replace the players quite well, they've never been able to keep hold of their ultimate stars. You know, let me just name a few. Riyad Mahrez, Harry Maguire. There's 2 very important ones for you there. More recently, Ben Chilwell's just left the club. On top of this, you've got Jamie Vardy, who just isn't getting any younger. But I still think for this game alone, Leicester have got it. I think they have enough quality to beat West Brom. However, I do think it's going to be an exciting game. I think both teams are going to score. I'm going to go with West Brom 1, Leicester City 3. Okay, now this is a very good game. West Ham versus Newcastle United. David Moyes' first fixture of what is going to be a very difficult start to the season for that man, and I'll tell you that for free. And the reason why I say this is going to be a very difficult first game for him is because Newcastle, first off, Steve Bruce, congratulations on overperforming last season, because, mate, I did not expect Newcastle to stay up, really. I thought Steve Bruce was such a poor appointment, but he's only been nothing but good for that club. Not only did he keep them up convincingly, they actually played well. They had a poor end to the season, don't get me wrong, but this is a new year. They've just brought Callum Wilson, they've just brought Ryan Fraser, 2 amazing forwards to add to that attack with St. Maximin. Unbelievable stuff. And like I said, being able to keep older players like St. Maximin is important in itself. I think it's going to be very close, and I do think both teams are going to need to play a few games to find their feet a little bit. So I can see this being a 0-0 draw. And then the last game of match week 1, Crystal Palace versus Southampton. Roy Hodgson, of course, another favourite who could get the sack first. For this one, I see Southampton just about edging it against Palace with a 2-0 victory away from home. Anyway, that's my predictions and stuff like that. Make sure you're leaving in the comments down below all your predictions. I'm so excited for this Premier League season. I really can't even explain it. Yeah, it's going to be a good one, man. Like I said, if you haven't checked out my recent video of the Redmond footy view, go and check that out. We talk about who I think will be the first manager to be sacked in the Premier League. Go and follow me socials, Instagram, Twitter, JamesRedmonds_96 for both. Make sure if you're new around here, you subscribed and like the video if you enjoyed. And I hope you like everything I'm trying to do with this show, trying to get you guys more involved, because I think that'll be boss, mate. Just, you know, getting the comments in. I even soon want to start doing like fan questions. Like, you'll send me a video of you asking me a question or an opinion, and we'll debate it, you know what I mean? I've got so many plans for this show, so please jump on the train, get on board, because this season is going to be boss, believe me. But like I said, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Ta-da.